I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I'm here to tell you all about what I did when I worked out today. We did wide grip lat pull down. Can't do that voice. Can't do it today, at least. That was an awful impression. We did wide grip lat pull downs, neutral grip machine row, wide grip seated cable rows, cable French press, easy bar push down, and lat prayers. Wow, this is slightly different. Do you know why it's slightly different? Because this is on a Saturday that I trained, and I went home for the weekend, so that's why. Yeah, so I worked out at Planet Fitness, and it was pretty much whatever. Otherwise, I would have done easy bar, French press, but the dealio was they didn't have enough. Didn't have enough weight. It only went up 60 pounds, and I'm doing at this point what was my top set. Well, I mean, my last top set with the easy bar French press was something like 85 pounds, so is what it is. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about exercise. How does this apply? Exercise is stressful. We know that. That's why we have an epinephrine response, which influences a ton of stuff about our respiratory system and our heart rate. But what about our cortisol? Glucocorticoids produced by our adrenal cortex. Well, let's talk about mineralocorticoids too, because I don't believe I've talked about those much. We have aldosterone, and it's going to essentially, we're regulating sodium potassium levels in the plasma. Why is that important? If you remember, sodium potassium are absolutely essential for a couple things. One, nervous system. Sodium potassium pumps, that's what's going to give us action potentials. Two, sodium can be abused for hydrogen removal in muscle. So it's super important because of the NHE, sodium hydrogen exchanger. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. Let's see, so we have aldosterone. That's going to regulate sodium reabsorption and potassium secretion in the kidney. So it's going to regulate sodium H2O balance. And plasma volume and blood pressure by proxy. Wait, what's blood pressure important for? Afterload. Why? That's going to affect our stroke volume, right? That's going to affect our cardiac output during exercise. So if we have, we don't want our aortic blood pressure too high, or else we won't be able to overcome it at rest. During exercise, it's so much of a problem because you have a lot more factors increasing your heart contractility and your heart rate. So your cardiac output isn't going to be too harshly affected. But anyways, it is something that's there and you got to regulate it. So this is kind of a slow system, but when blood pressure goes down, the sympathetic kidney will convert renin. It'll secrete renin. Renin will convert angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1, and then angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2 in the lungs via angiotensin converting enzyme. Then we're going to get vasoconstriction and aldosterone release. And then we're going to have sodium reabsorption as a result. So then we're looking at cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. You have your general adaptation syndrome. And as you're in the stress phase, you have the phase, what is it, the adaptive phase or something like that? Where you're, you're going to have the cortisol release basically at the peak of that. So yeah, Hans-Sely general adaptation syndrome. But cortisol is going to mobilize tissue amino acids. Boo, boo, we hate that. We don't want to break down our muscle, right? But it's going to happen during exercise anyways. The key here is that cortisol levels peak post-exercise, and you just have to be in a recovery state in order to not constantly be breaking down muscle, stuff like that. You want to be anabolic. You don't want to be catabolic. And cortisol is certainly a catabolic hormone. It's breaking down stuff. It's mobilizing tissue amino acids, mobilizing free fatty acids, stimulating gluconeogenesis, and blocks the entry of glucose into tissue because we're trying to preserve our blood sugar during exercise. So it's a necessary evil in that sense. So we're talking about, what is it? We can talk about the epinephrine receptors different time. I think that'll cut it off right here.